2017 has finally come to an end, and we're 2 days into the new year, 2 days into 2018, and already there is a rumor about not only the next-gen Xbox, but its supposed release window. Man, they did not wait long for 2017 then before they put out this information, did they? What is going on, guys? Randall Thor 19, the man with the million, back again with another video. And I hope everybody had a fantastic holiday weekend. I sure did. I played a lot of PUBG, posted a lot of clips on my Twitter. Some pretty funny ones there if you guys haven't checked it out. As always, all the links to my social media are in the description of the video if you want to follow me around. That'd be awesome. And I was able to finally get to new PC that I had been saving up for. So as soon as I find a good software editor to make better videos, that will be coming soon. But for now, at least the videos will be in 1080p when I do release them, as this PC I bought is a beast. But on to the topic at hand. Oh boy. Rumors, rumors, rumors. Who doesn't love some good old-fashioned rumors? I know I do. I love talking about rumors, and this one is right up my alley. It's about the next Xbox console release window. So I'm on Game Rant, and they're sourcing a YouTuber, pretty good YouTuber actually. I really enjoy his content. I've been subscribed to him for some time. It goes by the name DreamcastGuy. He's got about 83,000 subs. Now, he's insinuating in his video that he has a trusted source within Microsoft and Xbox. And this source has given him correct information in the past, which is why he trusts this person and why he made the video. Now, this person is telling DreamcastGuy that, hey, by the way, the next Xbox is coming. And by the way, it's coming in 2019. Interesting information. Now, of course, I'm sure a bunch of other people out there on YouTube, elsewhere, are either going to discredit this guy or credit him. I tend to believe him because I don't think DreamcastGuy is fishing for views. So I believe that he has somebody within Microsoft that, he trusts, and that person tells him good information. Now, whether or not that person knows the correct information is, neither here or there. The guy could be telling him the truth. The guy could not be telling the truth. We don't know. But let's talk about some of the stuff here. Now, the next Xbox, right? We know it's coming. Everybody and their mother knows it's coming. Just like everybody knows the PS5 is coming, right? As soon as these consoles release, the PS4, the Xbox One, they're already working on the next iteration or the next-gen variant of that console. We know from interviews with Albert Pinello that when the Xbox One X, during the launch, when that came out, it came out that that system was greenlit all the way back in 2012. There's a long lead-in time to build these consoles because a lot has to go into it. The pricing of the parts have to come down. There's a whole strategy involved around this. So, of course, there is a new Xbox being made, just as there's a PS5 being made, just I'm sure as there's another Switch in prototype. In fact, I would not be surprised if there's a prototype in Redmond for this system right now. The question is 2019 too early? Because that is basically what he's saying. He's saying the system is coming out at the end of 2019, and also basically that Microsoft is going to jump the gun and announce the system sometime later this year. Now, one could argue, well, that would make the Xbox One X a little bit irrelevant, especially if you're announcing a next-gen system so soon after release of the X. And my personal opinion on all this stuff is I think 2019 is a little bit too early. I don't even really expect the PS5 to launch in 2019. In fact, I think PS5 launches in 2020. Now, what DreamcastGuy is saying, and the reason he's saying it's 2019 outside of the Microsoft employee telling him that, is that Microsoft is terrified, scared of the PlayStation 5. They are frightened beyond belief that Sony will win next gen before it even begins. Because this is their thought process, according to him, is that Sony, in the beginning of 2019, they have one of those New York meetings where they invite the press, they show off this awesome new PlayStation 5 that has backwards compatibility with the PlayStation 4, and it's super powerful, and that they basically roll over their audience from the PS4 into the PS5, whether it's, they have 80 million on PS4 or 90 million, whatever it would be, sometime next year, and Sony just, they give people what they want, and sure enough, all the people transfer from the PS4 to the PS5, and they essentially win next gen before it even begins. So Microsoft is terrified of that happening, and they want to release the console before Sony can do so. Now, I know this has worked out in Microsoft's favor before. The Xbox 360 came out in 2005, a year ahead of the Wii and the PlayStation 3. And that 1 year head start did help Microsoft quite a bit. The 360 went on to be a huge success, not only in North America, but actually worldwide. I mean, it sold around 82 million, 83 million consoles, the most ever for a Microsoft system. I don't really think the Xbox One will reach that number. And it dominated North America, and more importantly, it got a lot of third-party devs on board. The 360 was the de facto for development, right? Devs would make the 360 version of a game and then port it to PS3, so the PS3 didn't really have the best version of the multiplats. In fact, some of them actually played pretty worse. Now, because of that, because of Microsoft's insistence of getting out ahead of Sony, we had the red ring of death, unfortunately, but that eventually paid off for Microsoft in the long run. So even though the systems died quite frequently, and I had my fair share of systems die, they were willing to take the hit to make the 360 a success. Now, this gen didn't play out the way Microsoft wanted it. They bet all in on the Kinect and the TV stuff, while Sony, went to the core message of gaming. PS4 was priced very appealing at $400. Sony was very like, hey, this is a games machine, while Microsoft was going with the Kinect and that type of experience at $500 with the weaker system. And we all know what happened. Microsoft lost this gen because of the underpowered system. All the multiplats performed and looked better on the PlayStation. It was basically a done deal before the generation even began. Now, Microsoft wants to avoid that. They want to actually get out before Sony and release a console in 2019, or at least announce the console that would be on par spec-wise, considering they'd be coming out the same year, and maybe priced a little bit lower. Now, I don't think 2019 is in the cards for either system. I think you're looking at 2020. And that's not saying I'm not saying DreamcastGuy is lying. In fact, I think he's telling the truth. These things, they take time. I think maybe there's a certain segment at Microsoft that is looking at it and be like, yeah, 2019 is probably the way to go. We need to get out there before Sony. We need to have a good price point, a good release window. Maybe we have some of these exclusives. Because then if you think about it, let's hypothetically assume here for a minute. Hypothetically assume that DreamcastGuy is right. The console is coming next year. Now, we know what's in store this year for Xbox. And I'm going to do a prediction video here later today or early tomorrow about what to expect for Xbox in 2018. We know Sea of Thieves is coming. We know State of Decay is coming. We know Crackdown 3 is coming. We also can guess that Forza Horizon 4 is coming. The big one is Halo 6. Now, Halo 5 came out in 2015. The main 9 Halo games have always had a 3-year cycle, so you would expect a new Halo this year. However, there was no Halo announced at E3 2017. They've said it'll be a long time before we even hear about it. Now, we all expect to hear about Halo 6 at this year's E3. They've mentioned that they're going to fix Master Chief Collection finally this year, right? Finally. They're going to finally fix it and upgrade it for the X, so it's in 4K and all that good stuff. But I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe Halo's not in the cards for a 2018 release. Now, if you take DreamcastGuy hypothetically at his word, and let's say it's true, like I mentioned, so the next Xbox console is 2019. If Halo's not this year, That would put Halo in line for a 2019 release. And then you have the next Xbox console launching with Halo 6. So you kind of think about that and you're like, maybe some of this makes sense. We know that Phil's talked about expanding the first party. He's signed some deals. Those games might be releasing around 2019, 2020, and 2021. Are the games that they're talking about coming out for next gen? If that release window that DreamcastGuy talked about is true, that could be the point. You'd have Halo 6 in 2019 as a launch title. You'd have Gears 5 the year after at 2020. You could even launch Forza Motorsport 8 as also a launch title, as those graphical showpieces, because they launched 7 this year, and I would assume 4 would be, this holiday. You could even talk about some of the other games, like maybe a new Fable from one of those studios or whatever. It sounds like, just from the game side of things, that maybe some of these decisions would work out for the console release window, but I have my doubts. In this article, they even talk about, well, it might be right just because of, the 5 years, 6 years for a normal console cycle, right? From Xbox to Xbox 360, it was 5 years. Normally, it's 5 years. It'd be 6 years if it came out in 2019, but people normally don't think that because, the Xbox One, or Xbox 360 to the One, and the PS3 to PS4 were like 8 years. Man, I could see this being reality, but I just don't think so. I think, because the other scenario in this, or the other kind of thing you need to keep in mind, is the Xbox One X itself. The X just came out. It's $500, right? You maybe would expect a $50 price cut sometime this year. So that's at $450, right? Look at even the Pro. The Pro only really got a price drop for the holidays to $350, and that started out at $400. So you have the X, a system that you're selling. Say it gets a $50 price cut this year at $450, and then say in 2019 it gets another $50 price cut. So it's finally at $400. Are you really going to launch? Is Microsoft really going to launch the next Xbox console, the next gen one, at $400 when the previous console, the X, is also at the same price? Something tells me they wouldn't necessarily do that. I just can't see a scenario where the X is $400 and then also the next gen Xbox console is also $400. I don't see that, unless of course they launch the next gen Xbox console at $500 again, which I think would be a terrible mistake. A terrible mistake. Part of the problem this gen, and the reason they are, down so much from last gen, is the pricing. $400 is a little bit more acceptable price point than $500. And especially if your competition is $100 cheaper than you. That's Microsoft's biggest, in my opinion, mistake, was that they were $100 overpriced compared to the PlayStation. So if I'm Sony, I'm coming in at $400 again for my next console. And if I'm Microsoft, I'm thinking we're coming in at $400 because we need to match Sony's price point. We can't be $100 more expensive yet again. We can't do that. So if the X is $400 a year from now, right? And then the new system comes out and it's $400, at that point it's like, well, what do you need the X for? Because you have a way better, more powerful system that has backwards compatibility, we can assume just based on what people are saying, just based on how backwards compatibility is a thing in the Xbox. I just don't see it. So as much as I would love to say, yeah, 2019 is coming, you're going to get a new Xbox. You're also going to have all these games like Halo, the next Forza, the next Gears, and all these projects that Microsoft was working on are all on the next Xbox, and they're going to look beautiful, right? And they're targeting 4K 60, whatever the heck they would want to target. As much as I would like to say that, I don't think 2019 is the date. I think it's a year too early. In fact, I think 2020 is the date for both PS5 and Xbox One. I really don't think Sony launches before then because they're going to try to get as much money out of this gen as they possibly can, and they're riding high. And Microsoft, this is kind of like a game of cat and mouse. You need to think what your competition's doing, but all at the same time stay true to what you're doing. And obviously they don't want to release a console a year after PlayStation. So they need to think, is PlayStation really gearing up for a 2019 release? Because if so, do we want to come out in 2020 and be a year behind them? Yeah, granted, we would have a more powerful system, but also, you run into that Xbox 360, PS3 thing. Maybe everybody upgrades from PS4 to PS5 in that first year, and there's really nobody left for you to grab outside of Xbox fans, and you lost the gen right there. So it's pretty interesting, and I'm sure they have meetings about this, talking about the strategic opportunity and when they should release the console, what year, with what software, at what price point, with what accessories. I'm sure they're probably talking to their partners at Ubisoft, Activision, EA, laying down the plan. But at the end of the day, I don't think 2019's the right date. I think 2020 will be the year of a PS5 and an Xbox 2. I think 2019's a tad bit early. But can you imagine? I also kind of think 2019's a little bit too early for the people that bought the X. I would imagine a lot of people would be upset that the system they just bought is essentially be obsolete really soon after they purchased it. But maybe Microsoft feels that those type of consumers would just maybe bite the bullet and then they'll buy the next system regardless. But who knows? I'm kind of interesting. I kind of want to find out myself when all this stuff happens, but I'm not going to ask anybody at Xbox, and honestly, nobody would tell me anyways. So I'm just as much in the dark about this as everybody else. But my guess is 2020. But anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to hit that like button, sub to the channel if you haven't, or, all that good stuff, right? Like, sub, comment. Let me know when you think the next Xbox and PS5 are coming. And I'll see everybody in the next video. Later, guys.